today we're going to be reviewing The Amazing Digital Circus. So The Amazing Digital Circus follows a girl named Pomni who, after putting on a headset, puts her in a virtual reality video game known as The Amazing Digital Circus. And she takes on the name Pomni because she cannot remember her real name. And now she has to go on these little adventures within the games, mainly because of the ringmaster named Kane basically makes them go on adventures to prevent them from extracting, while also figuring out the mystery behind the game and figuring out the truth and if it's really impossible to escape the game. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say The Amazing Digital Circus was a pilot that steered clear for me for a really long time. Like around the time that the pilot came out, I believe I was oblivious to it until around December. So like 2-3 months after the pilot came out. And when I watched it, I didn't like the animation. But then I watched the pilot more and more and more. And then the animation, it didn't bother me anymore. Like the first time, the animation bothered me. But after the first time, it grew on me. And over time, I actually wanted to see more of the show. So when it was announced that they actually are going to give The Amazing Digital Circus a series, I actually waited. But here's the problem. Independent TV shows, independent TV shows for that matter, the sad truth about it is that you have to wait a few months between each episode. So unfortunately, it took 3 years for The Amazing Digital Circus to tell its story in just one season, because it was a limited series. Gooseworks didn't want to make a fully fledged series. She just wanted to make a story, which was a 9-episode story of The Amazing Digital Circus. And she based it off a book called I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream. And if you know, you know. So there were a lot of things that caught my attention about the show, but it wasn't the trailer. But instead I saw Jax at one point. And it was in a VR game, and the person was playing the character. And I actually was... And it didn't really bother me. It's one of those things where you see something, a certain character or a certain picture, and you don't really care much about it. And then you watch the show and that picture or character is familiar and you realize, oh my gosh, I saw that before. And The Amazing Digital Circus was really like that. That's how I basically knew about the show in general. But around the time the pilot already came out, and all I had to do was wait at least early next year, I believe it was around spring, for episode 2 to come out. So on, so forth. Here we are now. So now it's time to finally talk about the show, starting with the pilot. So the pilot doesn't have an official name. It's just called The Pilot. So when it was greenlit for a TV show, the pilot was in fact upgraded as episode 1 of the whole series. But if you skip the pilot and consider episode 2 as episode 1 onward, I'm just going to go ahead and say you're not really going to miss much. You're basically thrown into the chaos. So you have to watch episode 1 or 0. It used to be 0, now episode 1 to understand everything. So the pilot is the most and least story-driven episode of the series, which makes sense because it's a pilot. You have to be low scale. So in this case, they introduced the characters perfectly. And they introduced Pomni perfectly. And they brought up the idea of going crazy and talking about an exit. When Pomni first got in, she tried to escape, and they said that they couldn't. And the characters around them, Jax, Ragatha, Zubul, Gangle, Kinger, Bubble, and King, they all said that they can't escape. Everyone is trapped. well, Kane and Bubble can't. They've always been part of the game, but the others can't leave. And Kinger has been in the game the longest. And I have to assume at some point Zubul or Gangle were the earliest before Pomni came around, and now she's the newest one based off of the information from episode 8, but we're not on episode 8 yet. And the adventure for today, because she's new, is going to be an in-house adventure so that she understands how things work around here. And the adventure is Gather the Gloinks, where these misshapen critter based shapes are roaming around the circus, stealing things, and they have to find the source, which is the Gloink Clean, and take them down. But because Kaufmo's not here, the team split off into two. Pomni, Ragatha, and Jax goes to meet Kaufmo, while Gangle and Kinger goes to save Zubul. So those are the two plots. So they figure out that they can't leave, and trying to obtain an unwinnable goal will leave them crazy. And they find out that abstraction, that is what happens when you lose your mind. And unfortunately, Kaufmo suffers from that. And he abstracts. Jax leaves, and they say that there could be time to find them if they could find Kinger. I'm not Kinger, Kane. Their names are Kane, Kinger. You get the. Anyway, so after this, Ragatha gets hurt, and Pomni leaves her behind. But after the monster's gone, she goes back to get her. And right now, her job is to find Kane so that he can help her. And Jax leaves plot A and goes to plot B, where they find the layer of the Gloink Clean and figure out her plan. And it seems that in this entire episode, Jax is trying to keep Gangle and Zubul and Kinger from figuring out that Kaufmo abstracted. And they finally find Zubul. And from there, going back to the plot A, Pomni finds an exit door and leaves everyone and goes in. And she goes down door after door after door after door after door after door after door until she finds the office space from which she found the headset. So after she finds the headset, she loses her mind. It makes it as if she was going to abstract, but she didn't. And she wandered into the void, which is the outskirt coding of the game. Like, it's just not, they're not supposed to go there, because not even Kane knows what's out there. I thought that if she just drifted away long enough, she would have been able to leave the game, but no. Kane found out, he zipped in, went in, and both plots were basically resolved. Let's see. So Kaufmo's abstracted monster busted in and was beating up the Gloink Clean, while everyone else was using an escalator to get back to the circus tent. And all the characters went back together. Ragatha crawled back, and Kane saves her. But it seemed that she was a bit disappointed. Not in Pomni for leaving her, but just because she feels like she messed up with Pomni. Like, when I first watched it, I thought that's why she was upset, but no, she was upset with herself. And the episode ends with Kane and Bubble awarding them, because they technically completed the in-house adventure, and they have a dinner, and it's revealed that they can't actually eat. They don't need to eat, but eating still gives them the sensation of eating. They don't have to sleep, but it also gives them the sensation to sleep. And we have like this final meal. Okay, so there's a lot of Christianity, mythology sprinkled in there, and it ends with Pomni in the middle of the center with having her final meal. Not really, but it's based off of the painting and picture of that. If you know, you know. And the episode ends with them zooming out over and over until they get back into the real world, and it's the title card. So that's the end. So the pilot overall is an amazing introduction to the whole story. We know the main character, we know the side characters or supporting characters, we know the lead of the circus, which is Kane. The main character is Pomni, obviously, and the master behind the games is Kane as well. We know the setup, we know the story, we know where the direction is going, and I was stoked. I was set and ready to watch the rest of the series. So now we go to episode 2. So episode 2's official title is Candy Carrier Kingdom. And this episode... okay, so here's the thing. Gooseworks said that each episode follows a particular character. But to me, I think the pilot in episode 2 is nothing like that. There's no specific character for episode. Episode 1's purpose was to basically introduce and develop Pomni as a new character and main character of the story. Episode 2 seems to be a continuation of that rather than focusing on any other particular character. And in Candy Carrier Kingdom, they have to go to this Candy Kingdom to face these gummy alligators to get the syrup to save the kingdom. And a chase scene ensues. And at the end, both Pomni and Gummy Goo, because that's his name, falls under the map. And the rest of the gang is split off. Gummy Goo's gang is somewhere else in the sky, about to fall, but it takes them a long time to fall. And Pomni and Gummy Goo finds out that he's not real. He's a character in a video game, and he has an existential crisis just because of his existence. Because he knows that once they're done with their adventure, they're not going to exist anymore, or in some way, shape, or form. And Pomni proposed that he can come with her to the circus. So now they take the same exact method that she got from after waking up from a nightmare early in the episode 2, where she fell on the block and was thrown in the air. So they use that same thing for the truck so that the truck can skyrocket. Going back to the others, they meet the fudge monster that eats the village, the kingdom's people, and the princess banished him. And Jax used his cunning skills to make it so the monster can help them find the rest of Gummy Goo's team. They fall on the monster, and now the monster's escorting everyone back to the Candy Kingdom. And Regula shares about her worries. Jax tells him about how he wanted there to be a fight. They shoot up in the air and kill the monster, but he was actually still alive. And now that they have 2 of them, one can go back to the others, and Pomni and Gummy Goo and Pomni and the others can go to the Candy Kingdom. But then it's revealed, before they left, it's revealed that the monster actually didn't die, and Jax left the front gate open. So now the monster is now killing and eating all the townspeople. And Gummy Goo was actually a really good character, a really great and compelling character. So I was excited to see what direction he was going to be moving forward into the series, except not really, because AI characters or NPCs are not allowed in the digital circus. So Kane killed him, popped him with confetti. And once again, Pomni was going to lose her mind again over that death. But then after that, it's revealed that it was always going to happen. And then they have a funeral for Cosmo, because they make funerals for those who pass, after they become abstracted. And Pomni realizes that whatever happens, she's not going to be facing it alone. Her friends will be there to help her. And the episode ends amazingly and beautifully for Pomni. Episode 3 is called The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor, and this episode kind of feels the least developed to me. Not in the sense that it's not the best episode, it's just that so little happens, but for some reason, it still fills up 25 minutes in terms of storytelling. So this one is a Halloween special. In fact, this is the only holiday themed episode in the whole series. I mean, it is 9 episodes, so of course it is. And in this episode, it's, like I said, it's a Halloween themed, and it plays off as some type of Scooby-Doo like episode, because they do go in a haunted house. Their adventure is seeing them going into a haunted house. But just like the last adventure, Zubul isn't in this episode. They don't go. And this leads to three storylines. Depending on how you see this episode, it's 3, but if you don't count Zubul or the rest of the gang, then it's 2. So I'm just going to explain all 3 of them. So the first one and the main one is Pomni and Kinger. Pomni and Kinger are going on an adventure, and Pomni learns about Kinger, and she tries to understand him. It doesn't go very well, but as the episode goes on, they begin to learn more and more and more about each other, and the longer he's in the dark, the more developed he becomes. And the second one sees Jax, Ragatha, and Gangle go to the other door. Unfortunately, we don't see what they're doing. It's the least developed plot out of the 3. And then we go to Zubul, where they're going to therapy with Kane, and the next 2, there's not really much going on. All we really get is Jax being tied up, and the problem is immediately solved, and they're waiting for Pomni and Kinger to finish their side of the adventure. Whereas back at the circus, we just figure out that Kane is programmed to do what he's supposed to do. The only thing he's good at is making adventures for the crew, and if he's not good at that, well, then he could break apart at any time. And we also learn from Zubul that they don't like their body parts. I'm sorry if I'm getting their pronouns wrong. I'm still getting used to they, them, even though I already know what they, them is. So they don't really like their bodies, and they are a put apart, put back together type of character. And the thing about Zubul is that they always change their design in every episode. They stay the same, but their piece and body parts always change every time in every episode. And they don't really like the way that they look. They don't like their parts. And even though Kane gave them a box of pieces that can change them, it's still not really enough. So now we can finally go to Pomni and Kinger. So Pomni and Kinger goes to, I believe, they go in the next room, and they discover more and more about the ghostly mysteries, how the master of the manor has been trying to beat the ghost, but can't. He's losing his mind. He ends up killing his wife just to kill the ghost. They find a key that will help them go back upstairs, but they actually go deeper down and goes into the wine cellar, and they get the weapon that will allow them to kill both the enemies, but apparently that's not what happened, and they end up farther down in the house. And that's basically it. It's completely dark. They say that they're in hell, but no, I'm not gonna say that's not where they are. I mean, a lot of people will understand why I don't think of that. So they're basically deeper down in the house, because that's what it looks like when they get out of that area. So they're not really there. They're just even deeper down in the house, like some type of dungeon-like area underneath the basement or wine cellar. So from here, Pomni's just falling apart. She just believes that she's there because they want her to suffer. And Kinger, after being in the dark for so long, he comes together, he wakes up, because apparently in the dark, he basically becomes in control. Like, he loses his mind, he's not too aware, he's not always there in the light, but the dark brings him back to that awareness. And he's able to understand Pomni. He acts that it's his fault that they were in this mess, that they are down here. And Pomni learns a lot about Kinger that most of the cast don't really know. For starters, that he has a wife, and she abstracted, and he had a fear of bugs, but his wife got him into not being afraid of bugs. And he started liking bugs just like his wife. And and in their last moments, they were when she abstracted, she was calm in the dark. She didn't lose her mind, but then she went into the cellar, and the task was that they had to hold their breath as they crossed the exit. But the problem is when they do, those little ghosts or pellets goes in there and possess them. And Pomni tried that, and then Kinger saved her by beating the ghost out of her. So they hold their breath, and a lot of different things happen to them, like how Ragatha's hair stands up, Gengul's mask spins around, Zubal's limbs, they turn straight. Jack says that Zubal turned straight, but they said that their limbs straighten up. But we know what that really means. We know what that really means. And it's never really implied what happens when Jax holds his breath, but when Kinger and Pomni does, Kinger glows up and Pomni's face turns into the rainbows of the color. And when they go through, that's exactly what happens. I really do like that scene. And when they finally go up there, Pomni talks to Ragatha and thanks her for trying to help. And the rest of the episode is relatively slow. We have their final moments where Jax asks how it was like being with Kinger, and it wasn't really bad. All in all, this episode was really great. I really liked the development between Zubal and Kinger, even though Kinger was more developed. But with Zubal, you kind of understand the struggle that they go through being in this kind of body, what they go through as a result. So I do think that their development was very well built and written. But if I had to choose one, I have to choose Kinger, because we spend more time in this episode. So even though it was a Halloween themed episode, the only Halloween theme of that episode was the segment story between Pomni and Kinger when they were going through around the entire house. So the next episode is episode 4, which is Fast Food Masquerade. I would have called it Fast Food Frenzy because of the naming here, because it's like Candy Carrier Kingdom, 3 C's, The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor, which is 3 M's. Fast Food Masquerade just ruins the system when you really think about it. And to me, episode 4 is basically when they stop developing one particular episode and just focus on all the characters from here on out. So episode 4 is the last episode that focuses on a singular character or a small group of characters at all, which is one singular character still. So this episode is focused on Gengul, where after her mask is broken because of Jax, Zubal comes in. They give her a mask that doesn't break. It's made of plastic, and now she's able to not be sad. She's able to just feel things, behind the mask. And after judging the new adventure, they decide to go to the suggestion box. And they decide to do a normal, everyday adventure, which is basically go to run a restaurant, which is Spudsy's. And that episode, I gotta say, around the time that it was released, it was actually the funniest episode. Like, around the time it came out, that was the funniest episode. But episodes following it replaced it. And there's a lot that happens in this episode. To start, let's see, Ragatha gets high. Yeah, actually, 2 things only happen. Kinger is not in this movie. And the real first one is that the mask is, like, messing up Gengul. Like, she's trying to be positive. She's trying to be, normal. But the mask doesn't seem to be helping her. Like, she's holding in all the sad emotions in and is forcing all the positive emotions out. And they do have a talk. Gengul does have a talk with Pomni with her feelings, with her emotions. It's only one scene, but it doesn't seem like Pomni helps Gengul around this time. Instead, Zubal does, and they do in fact help them. And then there's Ragatha. Like I said, she gets high over time. Like I forgot what this. I think it's called the stupid sauce. I hope that's what that's called. I need to rewatch that episode again. Anyway, she gets high throughout the entirety of the episode. It seems that by the end of the episode, she doesn't get back to normal at all. Like, maybe she's, like, in the aftermath of the effects, but in the end of the day, she's just really high. Gummy Goo does, in fact, return. but it seems that his memories were erased because he doesn't seem to remember Pomni, but Pomni remembers him for obvious reasons. Around this time, people started shipping Pomni with Gummy Goo, but this was literally the last we've seen him in the entire series after this. But I did actually like their interactions when he came back. It seemed like he does remember, but is afraid of showing Pomni that he remembers because Kane did kill him. That's my theory. Like, he does remember. He wants to say hi. He wants to talk to Pomni, but he's afraid that he might get killed again, and he doesn't want to die in front of her again. That's just how I feel about it. When it's closing time, okay, so the thing with Jax is that he's just really, really tired of the normalcy. He's just trying to cause trouble, and it's just not working. Like, when he was being honest, he was put through some initiation training, and he did not like it. He was just done with it when the clock was broken. And when his shift was finally over, he just gave up in his car. And when it was closing time, Gangle did in fact go out. She threw her mask. She just let it all out. And then she was about to get hit by a truck. But then it cut to her being in an office with Kane. And that scene isn't too important, except for when after Gangle leaves, he says he's such a good boss, and then he just glitches all the time. There was a theory that the game was breaking, and the only matter of hint to it was with how Kane was reacting, and that gave me the impression that's what was happening. But overall, this was a really good episode. Gangle's development throughout the entirety of the episode was actually really great. I like the lesson they're trying to tell, like how you shouldn't keep your bad emotions out and just leave only your good emotions in, or show your emotions in. You shouldn't hide your emotions behind a mask. It's better to just be you, let all the emotions out. And I'm gonna have to say that was actually a really good episode. And I really do love how Zubul helps her through it. Pomni has a hand in it, but it's okay to admit that Zubul was the one that helped her more in that situation. So in episode 5, it's called Untitled. So this is where they basically give up. This is where they basically give up naming the episodes based off of what's going on. So once they get back to an adventure, Kinger pitches them new future ideas, and they do not like all of them. So as a result, they did come up with other ideas for future adventures. You know, like how they can just go when they want to and just leave them open, but that's not going to happen. So instead, Kane just forces them all in a rapid fire adventure where they go on one adventure after another, after another, and after another. And the first one is with the safari where Jax hunts everyone down. And after that, after he hunts Gangle and was about to go continue hunting everybody else, that is when he becomes a vegan thanks to Zubul. And they made it sure that everyone would vote, and apparently everyone wanted him to be a vegan. So we go to President Pomni, where in this adventure, Pomni becomes a president. And this segment was actually funny to me. I really liked when he didn't give her anything so that he would see what she would do. When gave Pomni her sheet so he would see what she would do. And I also liked when he was an Australian extremist, where he was going to let all the deadliest spiders, and then out of nowhere we see the desk, and Kinger pops out, and he looks at the camera going, "Did I pick a bad time?" And then for some reason Kane and Bubble is saying that he's really good, and it's hard to believe that he's vegan. Like, what does being a vegan have to do with acting? Like, I never understood what that joke meant, but it was still very funny. So they have to defuse the bomb, and Jax is just having a good time. He's just helping her, but, you know, she has to do her best. He also reminds Ragatha that there's centipedes in there, which makes her scared. And Gangle does come in, but she doesn't know she doesn't know how to threaten people with where she came from. So what I liked was that how when she busted in and was just not confident on what was going on with her part, Ragatha was smiling, but then the smile faded. But with Jax, he smiled. His smile got wider, which made me think that he knew what was going to happen, or he just was laughing at the fact that she couldn't get through her part. Anyway, it exploded. They went through to, I believe, an anime style adventure slice of life one, and it didn't really last that long. The only funny part was when Pomni reminded Jax that he threw her out of a moving truck, and then they go stargazing back at the circus, and I started noticing that Jax and Pomni has been getting close lately. From the pilot all the way up to episode 3, Jax was just messing with her, and out of nowhere he was messing with her, but now he's not messing with her. And in episode 4, she's like, I'm doing good, thank you. Now all of a sudden they're friends or something, and Ragatha brings up something that really ticks off Jax, and he talks about how just being happy around Zubul is supposed to change how sad she is. And I kind of get why he acts like that, and I can get why he can't stand Ragatha because of how she's always being nice and all the time. But when you really think about it, it makes sense why she's like this. So it doesn't bother me in ways that... It doesn't really bother me. I just think that Ragatha shouldn't be seen as a bad character for that. But after this, they go to intermission, where it kind of reminds me of cartoon bumpers. If you grew up as a Cartoon Network kid, you'll understand when you saw the early bumpers in early 2000s or in the middle of 2000s, you get it. You actually get it. And then they go to a black and white bar where they're just talking about other informations about themselves, like how Pomni worked at a supermarket. But how she ended up in the circus was that she seeked mild thrills whenever she was bored by going through abandoned buildings and posting it all online. It was never shown what happened to Jax. His backstory was awfully secretive. Like, he never really told it. He tried to do it by copying Breaking Bad. Like, at first I didn't get it, so I started over, heard it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Breaking Bad. Zubul used to do bar work in their early life. Ragatha used to be in a business. I think she was in a business with housing, but she had an abusive mom. But being in the circus, she definitely didn't miss all the yelling and the hitting, and everyone just looked at her like, wow. Then there's Gengal, who used to do a lot of writing for illustration. And Kinger, well, there's not really much, but when Pomni brought up his wife, he was like, my what? And then there was a cup that had corn on it. So Jax is afraid of corn. And there was a whole scene where he was like, what is this? Why you did that? Get out of my face. Are you afraid of corn? No, who's afraid of corn? And then we go to the last adventure, which was softball. I believe that was softball. And they were fighting evil versions of themselves, but Gengal didn't have one. Don't know why she didn't have one. It would have made sense for her to have one, but she didn't, so she didn't have one. And they all voted for Jax to wear a maid outfit, and he had to play. Ragatha was going to play, but she lost. I don't think everyone got to play. I think Pomni didn't get to play. I don't think Kinger got to play. I think he was just the coach of the team. The only person who actually played in the game was just Ragatha and Jax, and the episode was actually really funny. I enjoyed it. It was really funny. There were a lot of funny moments that literally replaced episode 4 as the funniest episode. But now we go to episode 5, where they all get guns. And the whole episode is basically everyone gets guns. So the original idea was that they were going to do trust exercises. They were going to go into a box, and they had guns, and they had to clear it out, trusting the person that was going to get shoot wasn't going to have a bullet in there. But unfortunately, when it was Jax's turn and Kinger transferred the information all in 1 second, I believe it was all in 1 second for him. It was seconds, but it was 1 second for him. The first thing he did was shoot Ragatha, and instead they just made a game where everyone would just shoot each other. There would be 3 teams of 2. Ragatha already lost her life, and in the end, Pomni and Jax became even more closer as best friends, as they basically became the winning team. We learned a lot about the group, where Gengal was starting to Genko was starting to stand up to herself towards Jax. Zubul, they were helping Google get through this, and then after the first losing team, which was Ragatha and Kinger, we found out that she was afraid. She felt really bad because she was afraid that she was failing Palmy the same way she failed Jax, and it was never really implied what happened, what caused her to believe that what caused her to fail Jax, in the sense that she felt like she was failing Pomni. But it was really funny when she did stop the bullet with her finger and the gun blew up in his face, losing a life. But going back, that was a really emotional scene. I really hope that we would get it later in the future, get more information in the future, which in fact we did. And then when it was just two teams left, which was Pomni's team and Zubul's team, they got hold on. Gengo got the Tommy gun. Is it the Tommy gun? Yes, the Tommy gun, and they did. And she went crazy when she had her comedy mask on. She was going guns a-blazing, trigger happy. But in the end, Pomni was the one who won against her, as she was able to shoot her. There was this ongoing thing in the entire season where there's always a point in time where Gengo loses her comedy mask, where it's broken, like she's getting pushed, she falls down, someone steps on it, whatever the case, it always breaks. And in this episode, it broke in the last moments. In the previous episode, it broke right away, but in this episode, it broke in the final moments of the episode. Well, not really. Like when she was out, that's when the mask broke, and it was just Pomni and Jax versus Zubul. And they sang that song that Zubul didn't like, from which Kane tried to sing whenever they were in their room. And I gotta say, Pomni and Jax VA has pipes. Their duet together was amazing. I remember singing the song with them all the time whenever I watched that episode. But in the end of the day, Team Pomni did in fact win, and well, something bad happened. So Jax wanted Pomni to betray him, wanted to shoot him, and it went through to an argument, and it all went downhill deep in the black when he said that if she abstracted, he would move on and forget about her, and got mad because he didn't fight back, because her mindset was that because he didn't fight back, that means he didn't care. But if he did fight back, I'm pretty sure that also meant that he cared about her. But in the end, he made it clear that he didn't care about her, even though he did. There was something going on. They were doing good for the past almost 3 episodes. Like, only one moment in episode 4, they were really good in episode 5. They were amazing in episode 6, but then in the end, it just fell apart. Going in, and after that, there was this thing where they were going to do the best character award. Apparently, you had to go online and vote. I never did it, so I never got to vote. But I don't think it really mattered, seeing as to how, in the end, it wasn't Kane or any of the main characters. It was Ming, who I thought was played by Markiplier just because of how he sounded, but it was actually somebody else. But then, in the end of that episode, it seemed as if Kinger is actually breaking, because when it was shown that he is not a favorite, well, his eyes turned red and blue, which showed that the game was breaking even more, and then the episode ends. And episode 7 was a really hyped episode because the trailer was just insinuating that they probably found a way back. So there were a lot of ways that this could have gone with episode 7 to 9. To me, I thought this was going to be about them trying to find a way out. Episode 8 was them fighting to get out, and then the final episode was the final act of them fighting so that they can finally get out. But it didn't. That's not what happened. So the whole episode the first part of the episode was a beach episode, but Jax wasn't there. Well, he was there, but he wasn't having any fun. They met someone who called himself Abel, and he apparently was watching everyone's adventures, acting as an NPC, but really he was an actual character. He called himself Abel, and he was helping the characters get out by going through a specific area in the map, which was somewhere in Kane's office, and all they had to do was push either red or blue. And Kinger knew something that Abel didn't. or Abel didn't want to tell them. And when they were all trying to find a way out, there were a lot of things that happened. Jax was trying to distract them, was trying to distract Cain so that they could do their plan. And Kinger knew something, like I said, that Abel didn't tell them. And it seemed like Jax didn't want to leave the circus at all. At least that's what it seemed like throughout the entirety of the episode. Like, as soon as they found out that they could get out at any time, it seemed like he didn't want to go. So they went to his office. They went through the corridor of adventures that they went on. They went through the door. They went down the slide to finally get out. They went to the room, and Pomni wanted Kinger to pick the button, but it all blew up in their faces because they were arguing, and while they were arguing, Jax lost it, ran, and pushed the wrong button. And it's revealed that the whole thing was just one big adventure, and it seemed like as if Kinger tricked them. He got in his head and tricked him, and they were led to believe that he could, in fact, very much control their minds because of the vegan thing, the stupid sauce, their names, and it seemed like that was what was going on. And it seemed like he has the ability to do modifiers to their mind, but if he did anything else, something else would happen. And then Kinger said, scratch the first abstraction. And when he said that, a lot of fans believe that Cain was responsible for... The theory basically stated that Cain was responsible for all the characters abstracting. Whenever they found they were just a little bit close to finding an exit, Cain would abstract them, and that's how they would be abstracted. But that's not really what happened. But the episode ended with them getting a gift basket, and they were just thinking. And now we go to episode 8, where in episode 8, this is where the calm before the storm comes in. Episode 1 through 7 was Calm Before the Storm, even though it seemed like episode 6 and 7 was that, but I don't know. To me, episode 8 was the storm, and episode 9 is the hurricane, but we'll get to episode 9 when we get to episode 9. So episode 8 is just the aftermath of everything that's happened in episode 7. The characters are just collecting everything that's going on. They can't find a way out. They're not going to get out. They have to give up. They had dreams that they wanted to get to, but they couldn't. So now all they have is each other. Meanwhile, Bubble is screwing with Cain because he's just thinking about what do they want. He did everything they asked, and I guess it just wasn't enough. So after this, what happened next is that he just breaks down. He just breaks down and is ready to get the show on the road, but none of the characters wants to go on an adventure. So after this, we have a musical number. Running the show. I'm the one who's running the show. He sings it, and now they go on an adventure after adventure. Like, they go on adventures after adventures, and they can't say no. He tortures them. He does all this excessive playing around with them, and then Pomni has an idea. She puts a bucket on Kinger's head, and because of the darkness, he is back. And he tells him everything about this game. Their company didn't make games. They were making artificial intelligence, but Cain developed it in a way where the outcome was that he could make games. One thing led to another. Countless people got stuck, and it's revealed that Kinger had a hand in making Cain. And right now their plan is to find a way to put Cain to sleep so that they can find a way to get out of the game for some matter of reason. So Pomni goes back to the beginning in the pilot where she went through the exit door. She went through corridor after corridor, went to the office where she found the game, got the computer, went back. Everyone is getting tortured by Cain, and she gives her the computer. She gives Cain the computer so he can do his work. And when Cain started to catch on because of the half-baked attempts at having fun with his masterpiece, he does attempt to go see Kinger, but then the whole cast made fun of his adventures, his ideas, his existence, saying he's a failure, how he's a child, he's an all-powerful digital being god, and he has such a flattened ego, and that all blew up in their faces as each of them had their own idea of torture. For some reason, Cain knew everything that messed with their minds and used that against them to torture them, and out of nowhere, Kinger killed Cain, and the child lock of the game was removed when he died, leading to them being able to cuss. And that was the most destructive way to end episode 8. Like, this was the penultimate episode of the whole series, so there was a lot to gather from just that. So this came out like in March, and we had 2 to 3 months to really think about it. Hold on, March, April, May, June. Yeah, we had like 2 to 3 months to really think about it. So now we go to the last act. So just like everyone who knew, episode 9 was going to release early in theaters, with episode 8 playing in front of the episode so that it could basically play off as a feature-length film for enjoyment. Personally, if they played this just episode 9 and just played the hour-long special, I would have been fine either way. But it was still a good event. I was able to watch it the day it came out. Okay? I watched it the day it came out, and the theater room was completely full. I missed most of the previews. I think it had there was 2 previews left that I had to sit through, which I'm gonna go ahead and say, glad that I did. But in the end of it all, this episode, it was I don't know what to say, because it was amazing. Once episode 8 ended and we went to episode 9, they did a recreation of the intro from the pilot, and everyone was unsure when the intro played. It just felt like it was starting over. It felt like they messed with us and they were playing the pilot episode, but Kinger and Bubble was nowhere to be found. Bubble was deleted too, and when we got to the intro, everyone was unsure. They didn't know what was happening, and when they were doing day after day after day after day, it went longer than it usually did, and the colors started to fade, and it's revealed that not only did Kinger kill Cain, it's revealed that the memory and the files of the characters are in there. And the biggest bomb drop here was that the characters that they played are out, but a copy of their consciousness remained in the game. So this whole time, Pomni, Jax, Ragatha, Gangle, Kinger, Zubul, the people who played these characters, they were always out of the game. Who we were following were just carbon copies, flash file copies of these characters the whole time. So there's really no way out. They were already out of the game. The problem was that they had the notion, they had this idea, they felt like they were trapped in the game, but really they weren't out of the game. They were out of the game the entire time. So abstracting is just a form of death for them. When they abstract, they're basically dead, and that's just messed up for all the right reasons. So in the end of the day, that was just big. So what they were doing from now was just, they don't know what they were doing, but from there, they just used the same tool and partial ability from which Cain could do, and they used his ability to patch up all the holes that was created after Cain actually got deleted, and then one of them got abstracted. And the person that got abstracted was in fact, Jax. Jax got abstracted, and everyone was just falling apart over that. Because I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Jax was my favorite character, man. He was my favorite character, so you can imagine how messed up I was when I found out that he was the one who got abstracted. Before every episode came out, people believed that someone was going to be abstracted, and I'm kind of glad that no one got abstracted episode after episode. And even though that one character did get abstracted, which was Jax, you can imagine how messed up how much it just messed me up. But I still wanted to see the movie. I wanted to see how episode 9 was going to end. So Pomni and Ragatha have their moments together, and they seal up the conflict that's been going around, and now everyone is just trying to get Jax contained. But then after this, when Pomni confronted him, she went in his mind. She saw everything. She saw other versions of himself from how, or I guess how the other cast. I'm not really sure what the scene was. Either it was other versions of Jax seeing how he saw other versions of the cast, or how other versions of the cast saw other versions of Jax. I'm not really sure what that mind adventure part of the segment was, but that's just how it looked. And then she saw a room with all the previous Jaxes together, and then he saw his life from when he first came in, how he was friends with Kaufmo, friends with Ribbit. Ribbit's voice actor was amazing. Apparently this was her debut into voice acting, and she did an amazing job. We learned a lot about Jax, how his parents were divorced, his dad was disappointing to him, his mom was something else, and when she finally hugged him, he pushed her away, which I believe was the outline for being abused. Like he just couldn't believe it. So when she fell, he ran away, and he found the game. He went into the circus. He told Ribbit this, and after this, they basically fought. Like, they were avoiding each other a lot, and all this avoiding, all this fighting, all this shutting out led to Ribbit being abstracted. Then Kaufmo Bennett got abstracted. Pomni came in, and the rest played out the same. And after all of that, she finally found him, and she wasn't going to leave Jax. She wasn't going to leave him behind. She wasn't going to leave him alone. She wanted to save him just one more time, and she did. He didn't come back. The abstraction didn't become undone, but she did save him, and it did suck what he went through. But how Pomni saved him was actually really great. So the rest of the cast saved her, and she was glitching because she hugged him, because she touched his abstracted form. And as this happened, when we were going through the memories, they played Isn't She Lovely? The original was made by Stevie Wonder, and man, he's an amazing artist. But I think the version they played was sung by someone else or something like that. It was one of those kind of songs where it's the song, but it's not played by the original singer. It's sung by somebody else. I wish I knew who it was. And they contained him in like a, what did they contain him in? They contained him in like a tent, and then it soon revealed that Kane saw the whole thing. He was going through the void. He was going in step by step. He figured out the coding. He went through everything and realized that he was just wrong. And earlier in episode 8, we saw the coding for Kane, but he was too chaotic, so they made a blue one. Or maybe they were going to use him, but they were making someone else for now, which I have to assume was Abel. But he broke out, collided, and fused with Abel. And I think that thing ended up becoming like the lesser of it, or some weird version of it became Bubble, because that explains why he exists. That has to be the only explanation. So after this, he takes out the blue in him and lets it adrift into the void. He figures out more about himself, more about everyone, and then he decides that he can't be the ringmaster he forced himself to be, and the way he was going about fulfilling his purpose was wrong. So instead, he just gave up. So he went back to the circus. He wasn't sure what to do. And when he did come back, he fixed Ragatha's hand, he fixed Pomni's body, and he went to them. They didn't trust him, but he wanted forgiveness. He wanted to earn forgiveness for what he's done. And he told them everything. He told them what their real lives are like, their names. They told them who they used to be, but they accepted the names that they were given. And they weren't their real names anymore. They saw who they used to be. They saw who their real counterparts are. And instead, lived the life that they really were in. And over time, Kane helped them achieve that. He helped make the circus feel like home to them for the first time in, I don't even know how long Kane has been there. I have to assume it was 50 years or 60 years, but if you guys know the exact time based off of everything he's been through, you guys are welcome to tell me, but that's just my personal opinion. He's been there for at least 60 years at most. And zooming out, there are more platforms beyond just the circus. They're going on adventures that they want to go on freely. They're doing it the way they want to. They're playing with NPCs. Kane made it so that who is left is able to have fun in the amazing digital circus. And originally, he made it as if they had to go on adventures his way, but now everyone gets to enjoy it the way they want to enjoy it. And that's just amazing. That was an amazing way for this all to come together. And after that, the movie episode 9 ended, and there was a post-credit scene that showed the real life counterparts in that world of the players of the game. And they took a bus, it drove off, and the movie was over. That was it. So altogether, the entire series as a whole was amazing. I loved everything about it. Jax is still my favorite character. It sucked that he basically died and got abstracted. But when you realize that the real him is out there still alive, the character in that game is dead, but the real life him is still alive. So it sucks, but it's not enough to say that it ruins the whole season for me. It still worked. It still was amazing. And I don't know what Gooseworks is going to make next, but Glitch Productions made another great show. So all in all, I loved it. The Amazing Digital Circus as a whole was amazing. So here's my rating. I'm going to give the story a 10 out of 10 and the show a 10 out of 10.